What up, YouTube? It's your boy, Dr. Jacob Isom. Today's very first episode of Making a Case. Why is monogamy so hard? Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. Welcome to the very first episode of Making the Case. It's your boy, Dr. Jacob Isom. Today's episode, why is monogamy so hard? But before we get into today's episode, let me tell you a little bit about me for those who may not know me, right? I've been kind of off and on YouTube. I finally decided I'm going to take it serious, as you can see with my setup. So I'm here to stay. Like it or love it, all right? So my name is Dr. Jacob Isom. I've been teaching in the classroom for over 10 years. I've been dealing with children, teenagers, adults for over 20. So I'm not a spring chicken. I do have some experience in this. I do want to let you know that Making the Case is a YouTube show that I came up with, let's say 3-4 months ago, and I finally put it into fruition. And today we shooting our very first episode. I'm excited. Hopefully you guys love the content because I got a killer show for you in the very first episode. I want to start it out with something good, all right? So, but before we get into the show, like I said, I do want to tell you about some norms that I have here on my channel. I don't do ad hominems. That's just what I don't do. If I'm going to talk about somebody personally, it's going to be something positive. I'm not like any other YouTube channel. I don't engage in all that tomfoolery, the cussing and shenanigans. It's just not my brand. That's not my style, okay? So if that's what you into, the drama, hey, I'm sorry to disappoint you because that's not what we on over here, all right? So let's get into my opening statement. Why is monogamy so hard? Well, monogamy is so hard because monogamy is not natural. Yes, I said it, and I don't apologize for it. Monogamy is not natural. Monogamy has existed in our modern times for a couple hundred years, maybe? I'll give it 300 years. But for those of you that's up on your history and your science, you know that our civilization has been going for thousands of years, right? And for thousands of years, we have been a polygamous society. Monogamy is not something that term didn't even exist thousands of years ago, right? So monogamy is a modern term. Polygamy has always been a relationship type, and this video is not for or against polygamy or for or against monogamy. I'm just here to make my case on why monogamy is so hard. We always talk about it, whether that's on YouTube, whether that's in our homes or what have you. We always talk about people cheating, men being with multiple women. Now, I'm here to tell you that monogamy is hard for men and women. I'm not just making a case for men. I'm making a case for human beings in general. Now, we know that men has testosterone and that gets us going. Women has estrogen and they release more oxytocin during love making. So what we call the love hormone, and that kind of makes them, as well as some other biological factors we'll get into a little later. But monogamy is just not natural. And I'm going to make that case. I have 3 pieces of evidence that I want to present to you to make my case. Without further ado, let's get to it. Evidence number 1 of why I believe monogamy is so hard: traditional roles. Now, we just finna have a flat out conversation. We finna be open and honest. Traditional roles for men is usually adhered to and has been adhered to for a very long time. Men understand and were raised on the fact that we were meant and put on this earth to be protectors and providers. Now, some of us are better at it than others. Yes, that's a true statement. Some of us as men were not raised with a father in the household to teach us how to be a protector and provider. This is why you're seeing a lot of women complain about, well, if a man step up and be a leader, that's why you hear that conversation. But I think a lot of men are doing a damn job being a leader and protecting and provider without man being in the household when they was young. Case in point, you have one sitting in front of you right now. I digress. Women, on the other hand, what we call modern women, that's the reason why we don't call them traditional anymore. We call them modern. Modern women do not want to play traditional roles anymore because they're out in the workforce. They're out making money. This money, the money is not making them masculine. What is making them masculine is their ego and the idea that since they are making money, it's certain things that they should not have to do anymore, which is making it very difficult on monogamous relationships. If a woman has a child and that is strictly for women, childbirth is only on women. When a woman has a child, she's nurturing that child. She's caring for that child. She has to be out of work for a certain amount of time before she can even go back to work. Right? So naturally, a woman has that caring, that nurturing spirit that fit certain roles very well. That's why women was naturally cook, clean, care of the children, teacher of the children, right? Well, men went out and worked, protect, provide, and things of that nature. Be the leader. Okay. So traditional roles or roles didn't just pop out of thin air, right? They're not all socially constructed. Now, are some roles for men and women socially constructed? Absolutely. I'll be the first one to tell you that. But biologically, roles existed because men are stronger than women. Men typically work more than women, right? Men have the responsibility of making sure that everything runs smooth. So roles develop biologically, then socially, and not the other way around. Nowadays, the social impact, social media, all these things have an effect, and we're going to get into that in the next piece of evidence. All this has an effect on modern day relationships because traditional roles is just a lot of women don't want to follow traditional roles. The very idea of being submissive is disrespectful to women. A lot of women feel like submission means weak when submission only means to follow, right? I always hear women say, I want a leader, or if a man is leading correctly, I'll get into my femininity, naturally be submissive, which we know that's not true, right? No one has to tell a man, hey, turn on your masculinity right now. Okay. So what we see a lot nowadays is conditional femininity, conditional submissiveness. If you do X, Y, and Z, I'll be submissive. I'll be feminine. That's a problem in relationships nowadays. So monogamy is different, and that leads down a path where people start straying, cheating, and things of that nature. Okay. So it's a cyclical effect. Okay. So why is monogamy so hard? Traditional roles that are not being adhered to by a lot of women. Now, we have to place the accountability and the blame where it needs to be. It's not men saying, I don't want to serve traditional roles. It's women that's saying that. We have to put the blame on the accountable party. Okay. Let's get into our next piece of evidence. Piece of evidence number 2 of why I believe monogamy so hard: social media. Now, almost everybody and their mama is on social media. Young kids are on social media. It's a lot of dangerous things on social media. It's a lot of good things you can see of people doing some very great things on social media. Social media has very dire effects on relationships. Don't let me tell it. Let me read something to you. All right. Now, what you'll see right now is a article, The Negative Impact of Social Media on Modern Relationships. It's by a brand name Bloom, TampaBay.com, if you want to check it out. So I just want to read some things to you that they saying that negatively impact. While social media has many benefits, it also has a darker side. One of the biggest negative impacts of social media on modern relationship is that it can distract you from face-to-face communication. We know this, right? We do a lot of texts and things of that nature. With so many notifications and messages competing for our attention, it can be easy to lose sight of the people sitting right in front of us. This can lead to feelings of disconnection and resentment, particularly if one partner feels that their needs are not being met. I had a situation where somebody I was dealing with was always on their phone, right? Whether we at dinner, whether we at home, like it drove me nuts and crazy. Now, I would say there was a very small factor that led to the demise of our relationship, but it was a factor nonetheless. Let's keep reading. Keep scrolling down. Another way that social media can negatively impact relationship is by promoting unrealistic expectations. From the perfect Instagram couple to the lovey-dovey Facebook post, social media can make it seem like everyone else has a better relationship than you do. This can lead to feelings of jealousy, insecurity, and even depression. In some cases, it can even drive a wedge between partners, as one partner may feel like they have never lived up to the idealized version of love that they see online. That is a huge problem. People tend to put the best aspects of their lives on social media, right? Videos, particularly with AI now, we can create anything we want to make it look like our reality. And then we get in our feelings and thinking that, I mean, we're not even talking about Disney movies, right? We're talking about what's on social media. So social media can have you feeling like, well, that's how my relationship should look. Not happy. Have you ever heard that one before? Let's keep reading. Social media can facilitate jealousy and insecurity. From liking the ex photos to flirting with someone on Twitter, social media can be a breeding ground for mistrust and suspicion. This can be particularly damaging in romantic relationships where trust is essential for building a strong foundation. Let's keep reading. To better understand how social media has impacted modern relationships, let's take a look at a few examples. Dating apps and online matchmaking have revolutionized the way we find love. With apps like Tinder and Bumble, it is now easier than ever to connect with potential partners, regardless of whether you live or what you're looking for. While these apps have certainly made it easier to find love, they have also led to a culture of swiping where people are judged solely on their looks or a brief profile. This can lead to unrealistic expectations and a lack of connection, which can be damaging in the long run. So, not only are we looking online and thinking that, well, I want my relationship like that, dating apps have made it particularly hard because it's so easy to go throw up a profile, put a picture that either isn't true or is, and be a completely different person while you're in a relationship, right? We already talk about cheating and how monogamy is not natural and how monogamy is hard. Social media just make it that much harder because you can literally live a totally different life on social media, which a lot of people do. Let's keep reading. Influencer culture is another way that social media has impacted modern relationship, with influencers posting picture perfect photos on their seemingly perfect relationship. It's easy to feel like your own love life is lacking. However, it's important to remember that social media is not real life and that the relationship we see online are often carefully curated to present a certain image. By focusing on our own relationships and what makes them special, we can avoid the trap of comparison and build a stronger, more authentic connection with our partner. And we'll stop right there. So, social media is very damaging and makes it very hard on monogamous relationship because we see people online and we literally want to mimic or we want to create a relationship that probably isn't real, but we want it. That's what advertising is, marketing, right? They want to show you something so it can entice you to buy it. Well, that's what social media is doing to our relationships. And it's making monogamy very difficult, particularly when you see, like the article says, well, when you see a photo of a very beautiful woman that's been photoshopped now with AI and then all these filters, oh my gosh, like what is even real anymore? So social media is making it very difficult on monogamy. I have one more piece of evidence to show you, and it's the best one out of all three. This is my final piece of evidence. Evidence number 3 right here. Why is monogamy so hard? Simple biology. I save the best for last, right? I mentioned in my opening statement how monogamy is not natural, right? Well, monogamy is not natural because of biological underpinnings, okay? I have 2 articles that I want to present to you that shows you evidence of why monogamy is not natural. All right, let's get into it. The first one is by a site called Living with Limerence. Why is monogamy so hard? It's literally the title of the article. Let's get into it. Well, in the article, the first thing it talks about is our romantic drives are loosely coupled networks. Probably the biggest factor in why it is hard to remain monogamous is that there are several drives built into us that contribute to reproduction, but they do not work in unison. First is simple lust. From a behavioral perspective, lust is that direct trigger for copulation, an impulsive, urgent desire for sexual release. Impulsive. That's a key word. There are multiple layers to this impulse, but the most direct and rudimentary is where a sexually charged stimulus provokes a reflex response. Biologically, the lust reflex is linked to sensory cues, a flash of cleavage, the scent of body odor, an erotic caress. In the brain, nitric oxide signaling increases sexual appetite, and the same signal also increases blood flow to the genitals, true for both men and women, although the results are perhaps more prominent for men. Let's keep reading. Supplementing lust is the libido that can be seen as the baseline level of lustiness and the ease with which erotic desire can be stirred. Libido is largely under hormonal control, with testosterone being the most obvious factor. In the brain, serotonin also seems to contribute to libido in some complex manner, based on the evidence that SSRI antidepressants commonly decrease libido. In contrast, the romantic drive to pair bond is more long-term and more subtle than lust. Certainly, in the earliest stage of romance is coupled to erotic desire, but emotional consummation and attachment are the primary rewards. So that's why in the beginning you feel all these feelings, right? Because you're lusting after one another. You don't really know each other. That's why people typically say, give it time. Get over that honeymoon phase, right? The neuroscience of romantic desire is linked into arousal, reward seeking, and bonding, with oxytocin and vasopressin hormones getting in on the party. For limerence, these are the processes that make us addicted to an LO. Most people can experience sexual arousal independently of the desire for romantic bonding. Lifetime sexual monogamy is exceedingly rare. Many more people can erotically excite us than romantically appeal to us. Let me repeat that one more time. Many more people can erotically excite us than romantically appeal to us. In order for us to be romance, we have to feel some type of way for that person. But we can easily lust after somebody. It's easy to do. Most people can experience sexual arousal independently of desire for romantic bonding. The libido and love are not separate, but they are only loosely coupled from a neuroscience perspective. The second thing they address, sometimes these drives conflict. To make things more complicated, sometimes these drives can work against each other. Long-term pair bonding takes on aspects of a companionship and familiarity that can act like a cold shower for the libido. This contrary effects also make sense from a biological perspective. There are forms of love that can run counter to eroticism. Understandably, parental instincts inhibit the erotic drive. If you come to see your partner as a dependent to be cared for, then it is very easy to fall into the trap of a sexless marriage. Sexless marriages are on the rise now. One last thing. There is no perfect evolutionary strategy. So it's talking about how monogamy or polygamy, neither one is perfect. That's why we typically bounce back and forth with monogamy and polygamy. Genes play the odds. A mating strategy that increases the chance of reproduction will give any gene that promote that behavior a competitive advantage. Evolution is in an arms race, and there is no one best definitive strategy. It's a competition, and there are multiple possible solutions to any problem, which means that bet hedging is often the best approach. From an evolutionary perspective, the best outcome for selfish genes propagating through males is to form a stable pair bond, but with seeds opportunistic mating outside of that connection. What it's saying is, well, the best in order to make sure that seeds grow and are protected is to pair bond. But there's outside factor that's going to lead to polygamous situations, which is what we see today. The pair bond maximizes the chance that a man's children will survive, but any chance to spread genes outside that partnership is a lucky bonus. For genes propagating down maternal lines, the best option is for a woman to only be sexually receptive to the most fit males, but to not limit herself to a single partner. So if she's having children, she's best to link up with one male, have children by that man, and be protected by that one man. But as the article is stating, women also lust for other men. Don't get it twisted. Okay. Now, I have one more very, very powerful article to share with you that's going to sum and wrap up all this for this evidence number 3 that the reason why monogamy is so hard, biology. Let's get into it. And my last article for evidence number 3 that I believe wraps it up so beautifully. So why monogamy is so hard? Because of biology. I'm just want to read to you the abstract. And for those of you who don't know what the abstract is to an article, it's kind of like the summary of the article. So like when you're doing research and you're trying to see if this is something that you really want to read fully, that you read the abstract to see whether or not you want to read the whole thing, okay? The abstract to this article wrapped it up so beautifully that I just want to read to you the abstract. All right. It's beautiful. Watch this. So the name of this article is The Benefit and the Doubt Why Monogamy by G.A. Shulin. Okay. So let me read to you this abstract. Monogamy, a bond between two partners of the opposite sex, is a relatively rare phenomenon in mammals. In case you forgot, human beings are mammals. Okay, let's continue. From a total of 4,000 mammalian species, the duration of the bond may vary from one breeding period to lifelong. Monogamy does not exclude genetic promiscuity, extra-parent mating. In fact, this is a rather common. Monogamy is an intrinsically unstable mating strategy. Benefits include the relative certainty of access to the partner's reproduction potential, but the chief disadvantage is that access to other potential partners is strongly diminished. I heard many people say, Kevin Samuel being one of them, may the Godfather rest in peace, that you don't get 7 billion people through monogamy, which is true. Sorry, I'm trying to catch my place. We're going to leave that in there too, all right? But the chief disadvantage is that access to other potential partners is strongly diminished, particularly in those cases where males exhibit strong mate garden behavior. Mate garden, in particular, the garden by males or females with a good territory or females that accept the territory of a male, has been shown to be the most important selective pressure leading to the evolution of monogamy. So essentially, people choosing people, right? You, mine. That's why when you hear people saying, that's my man, that's my woman, we choosing, right? Those are choosing signals. A monogamic bond strongly favors the evolution of male investment in the raising of offspring, as in the case in most birds. 90% of bird species are monogamic, and most exhibit biparental care of young. Mammals exhibit this type of behavior to a far lesser extent. Female mammals monopolize the feeding of newly born young. Most male mammals do not look after their offspring. Humans are an exception in this respect. Like most mammals, humans are not strictly monogamous. A tendency to social monogamy has evolved. However, and is subject to strong reinforcement by cultural factors, particularly religion. Now, let me pause right there. We understand that religion promotes monogamy, although back 1,000 years ago, polygamy is all throughout the Bible, the Quran, right? I talked about this earlier, okay? Religion has a vested interest in monogamous relationships. I won't go into detail because I want to save that for another video, okay? So it's cultural and social factors that promote monogamy. But as this article and the other piece of evidence that I presented to you, monogamy is not natural biologically. Let's continue. As a result, a number of cultures, monogamy is the predominant mating system. However, most cultures, about 85%, are polygamous. Let me repeat that to you. As a result, in a number of cultures, monogamy is the predominant mating system. However, most cultures, about 85%, are polygamous. For humans, the optimal evolutionary strategy is monogamy when necessary, polygamy when possible. So we will always have monogamy and polygamy. My case is, why is monogamy so hard? Because social media presents the greatest relationships ever, and it makes us want to turn into that. Women are not serving their traditional role because women are now quote unquote equal, even though equality doesn't exist. That's another topic for another video. And why is monogamy so hard? Well, I read it to you. Monogamy is not natural. 85% of cultures are polygamous. 85%. In America, we promote monogamy, monotheism. We promote freedoms, rights. So monogamy is cultural, it's social, it's religious, it's not natural. So let me get into my closing statements. As I stated, I'm not making the case for polygamy. I'm not making the case for monogamy. I'm saying that monogamy is going to continue to be difficult because it is not natural. Men are going to want more than one partner. Now, are they settling for one partner because of social, religious, and cultural factors? Yes. Women settling for one partner because of social, religious, and cultural factors? Yes. Is it more of a strong tendency because of testosterone for men to go outside of the relationship? Yes. And as I read to you, because of mating strategies and having babies, women tend to settle down with one man. It's in their best interest. Hopefully, I made the case for you. Please, 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 I would love to hear what you got to say about this. Please leave your comments. Keep it respectable, okay? And I would love to hear your take, why you believe monogamy is so hard, and do you believe the evidence that I presented to you? Do you believe that I presented the evidence in a fair way? Okay? Hey, before I go, make sure you go get the merch. I'll leave the link. Make sure you go pick up the books. They're all there. And the links provided in the description. All right? Hey, I am you. You are me. Love always, love eternal. And we out this thing, baby. Peace.